Okay, welcome everybody. The Moshiach Mystery Shiur, the second Shiur. The title of today's Shiur is Tshuvah, is it a prerequisite? Do we need to have Tshuvah before, in order to bring Moshiach? So let's start from the sources, from the very original source. It says in the Pasuk, this is in Parshas Nitzavim. Parshas Nitzavim comes immediately following Parshas Kisavai. In Parshas Kisavai, Hashem tells the Yidden about the blessings if the Yidden will keep the Torah, and then unfortunately also harsh things that will happen to the Jews if you don't keep the Torah. And Parshas Nitzavim follows right after the list of 98 terrible things that can happen to Jews if the Torah is not kept. Hashem says, "V'hoya ki yavayu alecha kol advarim ha'elu," and all of these events will actually happen. Habracha v'haklala, asher nasati lefanecha, that I have placed before you. V'hashevayso elevavecha, and you will take it to heart. While you are amongst the goyim, where Hashem has put you there, cast you there. You will return to Hashem, you will listen to His voice, like all the commandments that I am commanding you today, your children, with all of your heart. We see from this two things. Number one, that this takes place during the time of Geula. Like we see B'chol HaGoyim, while you are amongst the nations. That means the Yidden are still in Geula, and the Yidden will do Tshuvah. V'shavta ad Hashem alekacha, you will return. Immediately following that, Pasuk Gimel, the third verse, V'shav Hashem alekacha shvuscha, Hashem will return all your captives. V'nichamecha, He'll have mercy on you. V'kibetzcha mikol am, He will gather you from amongst all the nations. That Hashem has spread you out in all these places. And the Pasuk continues in verse 5 in Pasuk Hey, Hashem will actually bring you to Eretz Yisroel. So we see that immediately following the Jews' Tshuvah, Hashem will bring us to Eretz Yisroel to bring us Moshiach. And the Psukim describe a little bit about the Geula. Then Pasuk Ches, it says, "Va'ata soshuv." You are going to do Tshuvah, v'shamata b'kol Hashem, v'asisos kol mitzvos, you will do all Hashem's commandments. Asher amnichim mitzavcha hayom. So after reading these few psukim, there are three questions that come to mind. Number one, does this mean that Moshiach can't come unless all Jews do Tshuvah? Is this what we're understanding from these psukim? Because simple reading of the psukim is that in order for Moshiach to come, we need to do Tshuvah. It seems to be like part of the process. You will do Tshuvah and Hashem will gather you. Question two, let's assume that the answer is yes. What level of Tshuvah is expected of us? Are we expected to do Tshuvah? Absolutely. Like on the highest level? And question three, if you notice in Pasuk Ches, it says that the Yidden will do Tshuvah. Like it says, I'm going to go back to the previous line, V'ato soshev, you're going to do Tshuvah. And this is talking about simply after Moshiach has already come. So question number three then is, if all Jews did Tshuvah before Mashiach's arrival, why then does the Torah tell us that we will do Tshuvah after His coming as well? So I want to now explore this and go to the sources, starting from, I guess, the most important Gemora over here. A Gemora in Sanhedrin 97b. Rav says, all of the signs, all of the ends have already come. Which means there's nothing standing in the way of Moshiach. Moshiach is ready to come. Why isn't He here? Simple. It's totally in us to do Tshuvah, u'maisim tovim, and good deeds. That's Rav's position. Shmuel says, no. It is enough for a mourner, that he should already get up out of his mourning. Now, the wording of Shmuel seems a little bit cryptic, hard to understand what it means. And the commentaries give various explanations what these words mean. Is enough for a mourner to get up from his mourning. So Rashi gives two explanations. Explanation number one, that this is talking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem. That it is enough for Hashem, who is standing Kama Yomim. Hashem is many days in mourning, v'yemina ocher. His hands are tied behind his back. God can't bring the Geula. Is it possible that if Jews don't do Tshuvah, Hashem will never get out of his mourning? It can't be. There must be a case. A case means there must be a limit. Shmuel says there must be a limit. Seemingly, even if Jews do not do Tshuvah, Shmuel's position is, it can't be that God will be forever and ever in his mourning. We know that during the time of Golus, Schechter beGolusa. Also God is found in Golus. That's interpretation number one of Rashi. The second interpretation, Lishna Achrina, another version, that is enough for the mourners, that's referring to us, Jews. Only Yisroel, that is enough for the Jews. Tsar Golos, and Afilu B'loi Tshuvah Nigolim. Even without Tshuvah, we will be redeemed. So in short, we have over here a machlekes, a dispute between two great sages, Rav and Shmuel, whether we need Tshuvah in order for Moshiach to come or not. Rav's position seems like we must have Tshuvah. Shmuel's position is that no, it's impossible that we need Tshuvah, or else we can technically be in Golos forever and ever, chas v'shalom. The Gemora continues, and the Gemora said that in fact, the dispute between Rav and Shmuel is actually an earlier dispute from an earlier generation. This dispute comes from the Tanaic times. Says the Gemora brings a brisa. Rabbi Eliezer Eimer, in the same Gemara, the continuation. Rabbi Eliezer Eimer, Im Yisroel Eisen Tshuvah Nigolim. If Jews do Tshuvah, they will be redeemed. If Lav, very harsh, Ein Nigolim, they will not be redeemed. Omar, Rabbi Yisroel responded to Rabbi Eliezer. They were both contemporaries. They were the same generation. Im Ein Eisen Tshuvah Ein Nigolim. Are you serious? If we don't do Tshuvah, we're not getting out of this Golos. So he says. So Rabbi Yisroel responds, God will actually appoint a king. That the decrees will be so harsh, like Haman, Yisroel in Tshuvah, and Jews will do Tshuvah, and that king, so to speak, or the Tshuvah, will bring them back to a good state, and then Mashiach will come. So we see that Rabbi Eliezer says Tshuvah is a prerequisite. We cannot have the Geula without Tshuvah. Rabbi Yeshua, on the other hand, says no, it can't be. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to force us to do Tshuvah. Which is interesting. The Gemara is trying to make a parallel between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua to Rav and Shmuel, but if you notice, they're not exactly the same. Because Shmuel seemed to say that you don't need Tshuvah at all. What? God is going to be in his mourning forever and ever? Jews are going to be in the pain of Golos forever and ever? Here, Rabbi Yeshua says, it can't be that we won't get out of the Golos. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to force us to do Tshuvah. So we're going to examine that in a moment. The Gemara continues, and the Gemara brings another price. So with the same two opinions of Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua, but this price is a little more elaborate. The conversation that took place between Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Eliezer. I'm going to go through this very quickly because there's a lot of psukim here. I don't want to get caught up with the details and lose focus of the general topic. So the Gemara brings a second price. Rabbi Eliezer says in Yisroel in Tshuvah Nigolim Shenema, like it says in the Pasuk, Tshuvah Vanim Shivavin, return wild sons or wayward sons, Erpa Meshuvasechem, I will heal you, or I will let go of you, so to speak, once you do Tshuvah. So indicating that we have to have Tshuvah before Mashiach comes. Alter Rebbe Yeshua, but it says in the Pasuk, Chinam Nimkartem, you went into Golos Chinam. Chinam means that we went into Golos with something which is worthless. Which means, why did Jews go into Golos? Because of Avodah Zarah. Chinam Nimkartem ba'Avodas Kechavim. And the Pasuk says, V'loi bekesav tigo elu. If Avodah Zarah is considered Chinam, so what's Torah considered? Money, rich. So it says, Chinam Nimkartem, you went into Golos, you were sold to Golos Chinam for something which is worthless, and Loi bekesav tigo elu, I'm not going to charge you money to get out of Golos, meaning, Loi b'tshuvah, you're not going to need Tshuvah ma'asim tovim. And Rashi says again very strong words. Rashi's position is again that Rabbi Yeshua holds that we do not need Tshuvah in order for Moshiach to come. The next two slides is going to be a continuation of the Gemora, and I'm going to skip it because it's just a back and forth conversation that each bring, Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Eliezer, each of them bring a pasuk to support their position. I want to just focus on one thing, that again Rashi says, that God says when Mashiach will come, Ba'alti bochem, I'm going to control you, so to speak. I'm going to be your owner. Mashma ba'al korchachem, I'm going to, against your will, be your boss, God says, Hashem says. But lo Tshuvah, even without Tshuvah. So again, we see Rashi reinforces this position that we do not need Tshuvah according to Rabbi Yeshua to bring Mashiach. The next slide is again the continuation of the Gemora. And again, I'm just going to point out Rashi, that Rashi points out that the pasuk indicates kilu mo'adim, meaning the pasuk referring to Mashiach, and there's going to be a set time. And a set time means that regardless if we're ready or not, it's going to come. Mo'adim, the time will come, Mashiach will come. Alma, we see, yes, gates v'dover. There is a limit. Golas has a limit. It's not going to be forever, regardless on the status of the Jews. Okay? I want to just point out one more thing on the slide, that the Gemara, the Brisa concludes the Shasak Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer did not respond at one point. Okay? Which means Rabbi Eliezer could be submitted to the position of Rabbi Yeshua that Tshuvah is not a prerequisite. We don't have to have Tshuvah in order for Mashiach to come. So just to summarize what we learned so far is the Psukim, and then we have Rav's position that you didn't have to have Tshuvah before Geula, Shmuel's position that it's not necessary. And then we have Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua, an earlier generation where they disputed, they argued the same argument. Rabbi Eliezer's position is that there has to be Tshuvah. Rabbi Yeshua's position is, at least according to Rashi, that he does not need Tshuvah. Now, as I mentioned before, there's something problematic in Rashi's position. Because Rabbi Yeshua did say in the earlier Brisa that God will make a king that will force the Jews to come back. Seemingly, even according to Rabbi Yeshua, there has to be Tshuvah. It could be a Tshuvah maybe that's forced upon the Jews, but there has to be a Tshuvah for Mashiach to come. Rashi seems to indicate again and again and again that even without Tshuvah, Mashiach still has to come. So the Maharsha deals with this Rashi, and as a result of his questions against Rashi, he has a different understanding of the Gemora. A very beautiful interpretation of the Gemora, and I want to share it with you. It's a lot of reading, but it's worthwhile. So he quotes the Gemora, Amar Rav Kol Kol HaKitzi, Rashi Pireish Kol HaSugya. Rashi explains the entire Gemora, that Shmuel, the Sfira like Rabbi Yeshua, Shmuel and Rabbi Yeshua are a team, and Rashi learns that their position is Sheyiyu Nigo'odin B'loi Tshuvah Klal. That was Rashi's position, as we saw again and again and again. Asks the Maharsha three questions. The first question we already said before. What does it mean when Rabbi Yeshua said that God will make a king? Who needs that king? Who needs Tshuvah? You just told me that Tshuvah is not a prerequisite. So why is Rabbi Yeshua saying that a king, God will make a king that will force us to do Tshuvah? Question number two, further is difficult. What's Rabbi Yeshua going to do with all those psukim? I skipped through them, but all those psukim that Rabbi Eliezer brought that we do need Tshuvah. And all the list of the psukim that Rabbi Eliezer brought. And why, by the way, was Rabbi Eliezer quiet? I mean, Rabbi Eliezer never had any, there was never a question Rabbi Eliezer couldn't answer. Seemingly it was always like each punch was with a counter punch. So, what's going on in this whole Gemara? And therefore he comes up, the Maharsha comes up with his novel, interesting idea, how to explain the Gemara, that it fits beautifully. Rav's position is that all ends have come. What does that mean, all ends have come? Ein kates ledover. Kol means there is no end. Kol means it's finished. There is no end. Golos has no end. But why? Kivan duhus tolu. There's a word missing. The Tshuvah u'maisim toivim. Since it's dependent on Tshuvah u'maisim toivim. the Hainu, which means Yeshua mitzad atzmim, Jews have to do their own Tshuvah. It's not in the hands of God to bring Mashiach. Everything is in the hands of God except our fear of God. And since Tshuvah is a matter of fear of God, that's what Rav meant when he said, there is no end to Golos. Chas v'sholom. It's up to us. It's in our hands. The Maharsha continues. That's Rav's position. What's Shmuel's position? He says, it is enough for a mourner. I'll tell you first outside, then we'll read it inside, just to get the basic idea of his words. He says it like this. He says, Shmuel says, it's okay if the Jews do Tshuvah as a result of their mourning. Rav's position was that Jews have to do Tshuvah. If you noticed earlier, Jews have to do Tshuvah. Shiyoshuva mitzad atzmam, they'll do Tshuvah on their own. Because God says, I'm out of this. I'm not part of this. You do Tshuvah on your own, then I'll bring Mashiach. Shmuel's position is it's okay if Mashiach will come through a Tshuvah that was forced upon us from the outside, from an outside cause. The outside cause may be avelus, which means mourning. The Golos is too difficult for us to bear. The outside cause might be like a Haman. The outside cause might be like a melech, a king that's making too many gzeros, too many harsh decrees. It could be all kinds of external motivations for us to do Tshuvah. And that's okay. God is happy with that as well. And that's Shmuel's position. And if that's true, then it fits how Shmuel and Rabbi Yeshua can be a team. Because Shmuel says that Mashiach will come with our avelus, with our mourning. Rabbi Yeshua's position is the exact same thing. And with this way of thinking, all the questions were answered. I'll just go quickly through it. It's okay if Jews do Tshuvah because of an external cause, whether it's avelus. And there is an end. When the time of Geula will come, God will arrange somehow or another, and they're going to be forced to do Tshuvah. And this is what the Gemora means. What does that mean? The Hainu Tshuvah, the Tzainis. Rabbi Eliezer's position is it has to be a voluntary Tshuvah. Rabbi Yeshua's position is no. That it's okay if it's going to be a Tshuvah. So to summarize, Maharsha's position is different than Rashi's. Rashi says Rabbi Eliezer says Tshuvah. Rabbi Yeshua says no need for any Tshuvah. Maharsha says it doesn't seem to fit so nicely with the Psukim. I mean with the Gemora. And therefore his position is that no, everybody holds there must be Tshuvah. The question is what kind of Tshuvah? A Tshuvah that comes from the Jews' own will to come close to Hashem, or it's okay if the Tshuvah comes from God that forces it upon us, so to speak. But I think there's something bothering, at least me, how could Rashi say that Shmuel, how could the Gemara say, according to Rashi, that Shmuel and Yeshua are the same position? They seem to be saying something different. Shmuel seems to say, according to Rashi, there's no need for any Tshuvah. Rabbi Yeshua clearly said that it has to be Tshuvah. The only thing is that Hashem will bring a king and will force a Tshuvah upon them. How did Rashi understand the Gemara then? So, it's a very hard question, and the easiest way of answering this question is by showing you a Yerushalmi. The Yerushalmi says one tiny difference in the language of the Brisa, that obviously Rashi could be add in his Gemora, which changes the entire conversation between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua, and that makes Rabbi Yeshua and Shmuel actually a very perfect team. Let's see. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, im ein Yisroel oishin Tshuvah ein Geulah. No Tshuvah, no Geula. Lo Elam. Shenemar, v'Tshuvah v'nachas tivoshein, you will be redeemed with Tshuvah, with repentance, and nachas, which means that Jews are going to come into the Geula calmly, because they're going to be ready for it, through their Tshuvah. Amar Rabbi Yeshua, what? V'chi im ya'amdu Yisroel v'yasu Tshuvah, einon mikol lo Elam. Can't be. Amar lo Rabbi Eliezer, HaKadosh Baruch Hu ma'amid alei melech kosher k'haman u'miyad inoishin Tshuvah v'eini Geulah. Rabbi Eliezer was the one who suggested that no, Mashiach has to come. If Yidden don't do on their own, it's going to come from the outside. Could be Rashi had this girsa, this version of the Brisa, that the comment that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was going to bring a king didn't come from Rabbi Yeshua, it came from Rabbi Eliezer. So it ends up being that according to Rashi, there are two different opinions. There's Rav and Rabbi Eliezer, which says, who they say that Moshiach will come only with Tshuvah, regardless if the Tshuvah is voluntary or forced upon them. You have to do Tshuvah. Rabbi Yeshua and Shmuel are of the position that no, there is no need for any Tshuvah in order for Moshiach to come. Okay? So we have basically here two opinions in how to understand the Gemara. We have Rashi's opinion that says it's, Rabbi Eliezer says you do need, Rabbi Yeshua says you don't need. We have the Maharsha's position that says, no, you have to have Tshuvah. The question is, what kind of Tshuvah? Rabbi Eliezer says Tshuvah that comes from the Jews themselves. Rabbi Yeshua says it has to be it could even be a Tshuvah that comes from above that is forced upon them. Let's go into this a little bit further. The Rambam's position. The Rambam says, Kol HaNevi'im, all the prophets, Kulon, all of them, Tzivu ala Tshuvah, asked us and begged us and commanded us to do Tshuvah. Ve'ein Yisroel nigol elo b'Tshuvah. Rambam is a sefer of halacha. He says, Jews will only be redeemed through Tshuvah. Ukvar hifticho Torah, and Torah already promised to say Yisroel has a Tshuvah, b'Sei Koluson, u'miyad ein nigol, and as soon as they do Tshuvah, Moshiach will come. Shenera, and he quotes the psukim that we began the Shiur with, if you read this Gemara on the surface, if you read this Rambam on the surface, Rambam's position is like Rabbi Eliezer or Rav. In fact, the famous Maharipik, or otherwise known as Reb Shaya Berliner, otherwise known as the Gillian Hashas, he was the one that when the Vilna Shas was printed, he had on the margins of the Gemara, he would show you where other Gemaras can be found that are similar to this Gemara. A tremendous Goyin, and he knew Gemara Baal Peh. He also had a lot of comments on the Rambam as well. So on his comments to the Rambam, he writes, just to give you a little more background, he's actually commenting on the Kesef Mishnah. I'm not going to get into it right now, but it's important to know that he's commenting on the Kesef Mishnah. That's why he says, to me it seems that the words of the Rambam are actually taken from what Rav says in Sanhedrin, Lehedra clearly, and the Rambam hold like Rav, the Rav neged Shmuel, in the machlekes of Rav against Shmuel, the polygon the Rav where Shmuel argues against Rav. And we know, typically we rule like Rav, at least in these matters. Now, Afal Gav, although the Masik Shem, the Gemara concludes the Shas like Rabbi Eliezer didn't answer back, meaning Rabbi Eliezer seemingly submitted. It's okay, since Rav, who was a later generation, ruled like Rabbi Eliezer. Obviously, it wasn't a complete, he didn't totally submit, he just didn't want to answer. And by the way, Rav himself, a few times in Shas, when he was asked a question that stumped him, he didn't respond, although he didn't change his position. Meaning he felt he was right, he didn't have the right answer right now, but he didn't change his position. Okay? So, the Maripik basically explains that the Rambam is like Rav, like Rabbi Eliezer, that you didn't have to do Tshuvah. If this is the case, that means you didn't have to do a proper Tshuvah according to the Rambam, which makes things difficult for Moshiach to come. And we know this Rambam was mentioned by the Rebbe hundreds of times. This Yidden will do Tshuvah before Moshiach will come. If the Rambam is like Rav, it's harder. So I want to go through the Rebbe's position on this sugya and ultimately how the Rebbe understands the Rambam. It's a long topic, and I'm just going to try to get to the basic, to the crux of it quickly, as quick as we can. So this is the letter of the Rebbe in Chelik Aleph of Igros Kodesh. The Rebbe discussed something interesting. We have in our Gemora a machlekes between Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Eliezer if we need Tshuvah before Moshiach comes, yes or no. Says the Rebbe, there's another interesting machlekes between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua with regards to Moshiach, and that is when Moshiach will come. Tanya, Rabbi Eliezer says, "B'tishrei asidin li'ikol." Jews will be redeemed on Tishrei. Rabbi Yeshua Omer, Reishit Aleph is Rabbi Yeshua Omer. B'Nisan asidin li'ikol are actually going to be redeemed Nisan. The Gemora in Rosh Hashanah, of Yudam and Beis, 10b, explains the reasoning of each of them. The Rabbi Eliezer learns it from Shofar of Rosh Hashanah. It says the Mashiach will come to Ka'ab b'Shofar Gadol, sound the great Shofar. It says on Rosh Hashanah Tiku b'Chayil Shofar. Okay, so when is the Shofar of Mashiach going to be blasted? Also on in the month of Tishrei. If Yeshua says no, we learn it from Leil Shiurim, which is said about Yetzias Mitzrayim. Why is the night of Yetzias Mitzrayim called Leil Shiurim? So Yeshua says it because it's a night that's Yeshumar. It's Hashem guards it from the 6 days of creation for the day that Mashiach will come. So Yeshua says Mashiach will come in the month of Nisan. Rabbi Eliezer says he's going to come in the month of Tishrei. Which, by the way, everybody agrees that Mashiach will come at any time. It's a big discussion based on this Gemora. Is Mashiach limited to the month of Tishrei and Nisan? And the answer is no. They're talking about how Mashiach will come. And in this letter, the Rebbe really addresses this point. The Rebbe says, V'yashlema, we can say, the Pluktasam b'Geula le'inyan hazman, their argument about the Geula when he will come, Mas-emes fits with their argument about the Geula with regard to the Jews' status, the Matzav Nefesh Bnei Yisroel, in the status of the Jews with regards to Kiyum Torah mitzvahs. The Rebbe says a very beautiful thing. The Rebbe says like this. The Rebbe says, according to Rabbi Yeshua, according to Rabbi Eliezer, Mashiach will only come with Tshuvah, which means that the Yidden are going to return to Hashem on their own, and that's perfect with the concept of Tishrei. What's the concept of Tishrei? Tishrei is a time when a Jew, Ani L'Doidi, a person on his own, comes close to Hashem. He takes things seriously. It's a Tshuvah that comes from Milamata L'Mayra, from below, from the bottom above. Interesting, in the letters of Tishrei, Tov Shin Reish is starting from the Aleph Beis down up. Tov is the last, Aleph Beis Shin is the one up, Reish the one up. So Rabbi Eliezer says, Yisroel Nigolam Alidei Shema'atzmon Oisin Tshuvah. That's why he connects it with the Shofar of Rosh Hashanah. What's the idea of Shofar of Rosh Hashanah? As the Rambam explains, Shofar of Rosh Hashanah is that a Jew is supposed to be aroused, meaning a Jew is supposed to awaken himself to Tshuvah. And in general, that's the idea of Tishrei. Rabbi Yeshua's position, Rabbi Yeshua Eimer, that even if they do Tshuvah on their own, this is a key word over here, me'atzman. The Rebbe already in this letter shows that his understanding of the Gemora is more like the Marshal. That everybody agrees you have to have Tshuvah, but the question is what kind of Tshuvah. Rabbi Yeshua says that even if they do Tshuvah on their own, Hashem will bring a king like Haman, and that fits with his position that the Geula is like the Nisan time. Yetzias Mitzrayim. What's Yetzias Mitzrayim? Shenigalu b'schus Kabbalas HaTorah. They were nigal because of Kabbalas HaTorah. Shekofu aleim. That God forced, so to speak, the Jews to accept the Torah. In general, the idea of Yetzias Mitzrayim was something which the Jews were actually not ready for. We're learning in this parsha is where the Jews left Mitzrayim. Many of them were actually not befitting, not holding on the level of being ready for the Geula. The Eibusher had, so to speak, get them out of Golas quick before the Yidden are going to be lost. So the Rebbe says these two positions of Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Eliezer about when Moshiach will come fits perfectly with their machlekes about whether there's a need for Geula, for Tshuvah, in order to bring the Geula or not. Or, what kind of Tshuvah is required. So that's letter number 1 that I'm showing you. And the Rebbe's position is more the Marashal kind of position. That Tshuvah for sure has to be. The question is what kind of Tshuvah. But it doesn't mean that the Rebbe necessarily learns that the halach is like Rabbi Yeshua. This is another letter. The Rebbe says, Dihina Amar Azal. The Gemora says, Amar Rabbi Yeshua, B'Nisan Niglu, B'Nisan Asidin Li'Goyel, V'Kaimo Lon Ki Rabbi Yeshua. We accept the position of Rabbi Yeshua, the Haga'ula Hu B'Nisan. That is the accepted position of the majority of the commentators, based on the rule that Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua, whenever there is a dispute between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua, halacha Rabbi Yeshua. The Rebbe quotes a few places where this concept is explained in length, that Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua, halacha Rabbi Yeshua. So we have over here not only the Rebbe's position on how to learn, how to understand the machlekes between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua, we also have the Rebbe's clarity on the idea that the halachas are going to be Yeshua, which, assuming in halachas are going to be Yeshua in this argument, is the same with regards to the other argument with regards to what kind of Tshuvah is necessary. But that doesn't tell us the pshat in the Rambam yet. The next letter of the Rebbe, I'm going to skip this for a second. I'm going to get back to it in a second. This is another letter of the Rebbe, P1S2. The Rebbe says, V'hine Omer Azal, the Rebbe quotes the Rambam, Hilchos Tshuvah, Ukedas Rabbi Yeshua, and the Rambam's position is like the position of Rabbi Yeshua. Torah already promised. By the way, if you think about the idea of promise, how could Torah promise that Jews will do Tshuvah? How does Torah know that Jews will do Tshuvah? If HaKol B'nei Shamayim chutz me'yirah Shamayim, then how do we know that for sure Jews will do Tshuvah? It must be at the Rambam's position, which just is the language of the Rambam. Torah means that it's like Rabbi Yeshua's position of Tshuvah. That it's a Tshuvah that even if it's forced upon them, they're going to do it. And that's how Torah knows that they're going to do Tshuvah. Because since Torah knows Moshiach has to come, there's a case for when Moshiach has to come. So no matter what, Jews are going to do Tshuvah. Because Moshiach can't come without the Tshuvah. I wanted to go to the previous slide. A very beautiful part of the Rebbe. Why is it so that we need Tshuvah from Moshiach? Why? What's the logic behind it? So I'm going to go through this quickly. It was like this. In Geula Mitzrayim, the Gemora looked, the Chazal looked, Kama Taimim, for various reasons with Dvarim, what caused the B'schusam Nigala Avesenu? What was the cause for Jews to be worthy of going out of the Golos? Says the Rebbe, if this is true by Mitzrayim, Alachas Kama V'Kama, how much more so, Asher Achar Kach Shemipnei Chatoinu Golinu Maratzenu, in the Golos that we're in right now, that we are here because of our sins. By Mitzrayim, the Yidden didn't go to Mitzrayim because of sins. They were actually very good Jews when they went to Mitzrayim. Okay? Later they started sinning. In our situation, we are in Golos because of our sins. It only makes sense. You first have to fix what was wrong. Removing the cause of Golos, and then the Geula can come. And then the Rebbe quotes, okay, the east of this and Hedrin, Rabbi Yeshua Eimerim, Ein Oisin Tshuvah, the Eberster will make us do Tshuvah. Because Mashiach can't come without Tshuvah, because there has to be the fixing of why we went into Golos. So just to summarize, the Rebbe's position is that there has to be Tshuvah. The question is, what kind of Tshuvah? We pass on like Rabbi Yeshua. That it's okay if it's a Tshuvah that's forced upon us from the external. But I want to continue a little bit more to explore this. Is it true that we must have Tshuvah? What? So if every single Jew doesn't do Tshuvah, Mashiach won't come? It's a scary statement. So I'm going to go through quickly this. The time is short, and it's a long topic. We can speak about this. But I want to share with you a Minchas Elazar. There's a sefer called Divrei Torah written by the Minchas Elazar, all his speeches that he would give. Minchas Elazar was a Rebbe in pre-war time. He actually has very close ties and connections to Lubavitch for the Rebbe. Many minhagim that the Rebbe instituted actually came from the Minchas Elazar. And he was a very, very passionate Jew. If you read his writings, he's very passionate, especially when it comes to the Geula. He brings down from a sefer called Tiferet Shleima. In the name of the Tiferet Shleima. Tiferet Shleima was a Rebbe 2 or 3 generations before the Minchas Elazar. And someone wrote in a sefer, in the name of the Tiferet Shleima, someone wrote a sefer, and he writes that the Tiferet Shleima says the reason why we're in Golos for more than 1800 years is because the Shechina wants to bring the Golos, the Geula, I'm sorry. The Shechina, the Shechina wants to bring the Geula now. The only thing is, if the Moshiach will come now, only tzaddikim will come out of Golos. And the Rishonim are going to die like they died in Mitzrayim in the 3 days of darkness. But Moshe Rabbeinu and Moshiach are asking the Shechina, Menachem Mendel are asking the Shechina, are trying to convince the Shechina, Shetamtim, don't bring Moshiach until all Jews will do Tshuvah. That's what the Tiferet Shleima is said in his name. And the reason why Moshiach isn't here, because Moshe Rabbeinu is begging by Hashem, don't bring Moshiach here. I want all the Jews to come out. So bring Moshiach in 200 years and wait till all the Jews do Tshuvah. Says the Minchas Elazar, it should be forgotten, these words. These words should not be said. Chas v'sholom lahamin, that such a tzaddik, like the Tiferes Shleimus should say such things. The one who quotes him must have made a mistake. But it's true, we need Tshuvah in order to bring Moshiach. So how does the Menachas Elazar get around this? So first he goes through a whole long conversation, and what we have over here is only even a piece of a long conversation that he writes up over there. He says, to believe that Moshiach can't come till all Jews do Tshuvah. If we're going to say that the Geula is waiting for all the Jews, then I don't know how long it can take. That's not any day. That doesn't make sense. And he says more than that. This is only going to cause people to start not believing in Moshiach, giving up hope from the Emunah and the Geula. Who knows where this can lead? So then he asks, but what do we do with the Rambam? Hey, and this is the punchline. Hey, and Rambam Kosav ki ein Yisroel nikolim elo ayidei Tshuvah. True that Rambam writes that Jews will only be redeemed through Tshuvah. And once they do Tshuvah, Mashiach will come right away. Hainu lebeininim uma'aminim anoshim kerekenim. This is talking about from Yidden that we expect better from, but not a regular Yid who doesn't know better, or a Jew that was brought up in an environment that doesn't know better. That's the Menachas Elazar's position. Especially those who live in some country out there. So that's the position of Menachas Elazar, that yes, it says that we need Tshuvah, but it's not a Tshuvah expected of Tinoika Shenishbu, those who don't know better. That's one answer. But I want to share with you the Rebbe's famous position, and this Rebbe said, I don't know how many times, but it's safe to say at least a few hundred times, this idea. And the reason why nothing should hold back Moshiach literally should and has to come, and should have come any day, is because with regards to Tshuvah, Kvar also Tshuvah, there's no doubt that every Jew has done Tshuvah. There's not one Jew, look at Rebbe's love and trust in every Jew. There's not one Jew Shalahir Tshuvah. Guaranteed. Maybe even many times, but Meshach Yemei Chai throughout his lifetime. And if that's the case, in one moment, and then it brings the famous Gemora. The Gemora says if somebody's Mekadesh or Isha, somebody marries a woman, and he tells her, when he gives her the Kiddushin, on condition Shani Tzadik Gomor, even if he's a Rosh Gomor, she's Mekudeshes. Because maybe he did too. By the way, the halach is she's Mekudeshes, Misofik, and everybody always reminds us he's only Misofik because we don't know what's happening in his mind. But were we to know that he did a Hidur Tshuvah, she would be Mekudeshes 100%. So the Rebbe's position is, I know that Rambam, I know that Yishua's position, and Mashiach could still come any day, because all Jews already did Tshuvah at some point. It's impossible otherwise. Nevertheless, I want to share with you a few things. I'm going to skip this slide. Nevertheless, the Rebbe spoke in a very, very monumental sikha, a monumental farbrengen, and there's a lot of history behind this farbrengen. This was, it actually started already Tov Shenun, in Parshas Vayikra. There was a certain Jew in Israel that gave a speech that literally just knocked out half of Klal Yisrael out of the Jewish nation. He says, Jews are those who learn Torah. If you don't learn Torah, you're not a Jew. What makes you a Jew? And he spoke for a half hour with this diatribe, this angry, no, Jews in the kibbutzim are not Jews. And everyone was so upset in Parshas Vayikra. The Rebbe says the Torah of today is Amzu Yatzar Tali. Tilasa Yisaperu. The Eibishter has a beautiful nation, and they're God's nation. The Eibishter loves every single Yid. The Rebbe was very upset about that attitude that Yidden, if they don't learn Torah, they're not Jews. Yes, they have to do Tshuvah, they have to get closer, but Rebbe didn't like that attitude. That Yidden, if you don't learn Torah, you're not a Jew. So this sikha of Shabbos Parshas Vayechi, and it was also a little bit part of Asar B'Tevis, the Rebbe said a very, very passionate sikha about not blaming Jews for the Holocaust, and stop that attitude of putting Jews down. Jews have to be uplifted. And Rebbe in that sikha said that, first of all, Moshiach could possibly even come without Jews doing Tshuvah. And here the Rebbe, like so to speak, puts that out there, that it's possible, and if Hashem really wants, He could also bring us the Geula without all Yidden doing Tshuvah. The Rebbe says something interesting. In the beginning of the Slichas of Asar B'Tevis, we say, Ki Mashem HaChesed Arbei Mifnus. One of the piyutim, one of the pieces there start that with Hashem is chesed, Hashem could bring pedus. That's from Tehillim, Kuf Lamed, Posuk Zayin. Then the Piyut continues, please redeem Jews from all of their troubles, from all their worries, from all their tzoros. That's from Tehillim, Kapitel Chafei. Then we continue, immediate next sentence. Hashem will free us from all our sins. Tehillim Kuf Lamed Ches. Don't you think these two psukim should be together? And this pasuk should be afterwards. Why is the order Kuf Lamed Zayin, Chav Hei Chav Beis, and Kuf Lamed Ches? There are answers. Rebbe says, the explanation, V'abir b'seder apsukim kifi shenikbu b'haslichois b'seder zed afka. Shebeis apsukim ki Hashem chesed v'yivdas Yisroel einam ne'emarim esmichus are not set together the way they are in Tehillim. Elo mafsikim b'neim, we stop with a pasuk p'dei lekim es shom l'kosedes. Why? Because shemavakshim HaKadosh Baruch we are asking Hashem u'petuchim, we trust Hashem. Shuhu shemei atfilah, he who listens to all prayers, Yemali Abakosha will fulfill our request. Shetchila Yivdei Yisroel, Hashem first redeem us. Mikol Tzadei from all our worries. Well, the Chaladesh, and the first and the worry that's sitting hardest on our heads is that Tzadach Geula of Golus. After that, and later, it was an issue called Averis. Okay, take the Averis out. Who Yivdei Yisroel Mikol Aveneso. So the order is first. Let's go back to the previous slide. So the order is. First, we ask, God, you have the ability of redeeming. Just get us out of here. And there's an issue called Avinus, and the Rebbe is trying to bring out of it that it's possible, Hashem wants, to actually bring us the Geula without us doing Tshuvah. So although, yes, the regular way and the normal way is that Tshuvah has to be, is a prerequisite for Moshiach. That's the answer to the Shiur. Is it a prerequisite? Yes, it is a prerequisite. Can Hashem override that and bring Moshiach nonetheless? The answer is also yes. So to go back to our original three questions. Do all Jews have to do Tshuvah? Yes. The simple answer is yes. Do all Jews have to, what kind of Tshuvah? Well, we have the answer of the Rebbe that even a hero Tshuvah, even a little bit of a Tshuvah, is enough to push us through the end line. And why do we have to do Tshuvah once Moshiach comes? Well, since our Tshuvah wasn't 100% complete technically before Moshiach came, there's plenty of work to finish. As we said in the previous, right over here, that even when Moshiach will come, we still have our avoidance to deal with. There's still some things that need to be taken care of. And what I just told you now is literally a drop of a bucket. And that's why I'm finishing off the Shiur with the words that Rebbe would finish off many complicated Rashi sikhs. Give the wise and they'll be even wiser, they'll add. And the purpose of the Shiur is not just to have a Shiur now and go home, but to actually get excited about the Geula and learn about the Geula. And the more we learn about the Geula and make it a reality in our life, that it's really going to happen, the more it's going to be real in our life, and automatically our life will be surrounded by the Moshiach, and automatically the Moshiach will come. I think here is a good time to give a shout out to Rabbi Goldberg and Rabbi Silber, who they were the ones who started the Shiur, and also to Reb Zohar, who brought in a special new chayas in the Shiur. Next week there's a Shiur of Chayav or Zakar. Do we have to be worthy or not to bring Moshiach? That's next week. I'm sure we will all come. Bring a friend. And questions, answers. Okay. Thank you very much.